Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
Welcome, everybody, to the Master Connector Show. What's up, everyone? Good to have you here. We hope you're joining us every single Wednesday here, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, as we go live on LinkedIn, because we're bringing you amazing, amazing guests, people that are going to help you close the gaps between your knowledge using their stories, their skill set, their experiences. And look, we want you to be able to connect with other people here. That's what this is. It's the Master Connector Show. But first, a quick thank you to our episode sponsor, Russ Hedge. Listen, over 30 years of sales and marketing success in multiple industries, Russ Hedge can help you be successful in your business by helping you truly, truly connect, transform your business, connect new customers. RussHedge.com. Thank you so much, Russ Hedge, great friend of the show. And listen, speaking of the show, we want you to be able to get out of this what you need to get out of this. So head on over to masterconnector.show, because we've got a great lineup for the rest of the year, booked into next year, of great guests. Like today, we've got a phenomenal guest. And every week we're bringing you people we want to bring you the value of other people's perspectives. You know, you can only go so far on your own, but when you have other people, great people surrounding you, teaching you, collaborating with you, everything goes so much better, with so much more fun. So listen, Steve and I, we go back about 27 years. We're two former shy guys, two introverts, two guys who didn't have a clue about much, but we found our way. We learned from others. We learned by reading. We learned by listening. We learned by doing. And we learned that connecting is the best way to further your opportunity. And listen, he is the master connector. Let's bring him on, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's up, Rob G? And listen, you know, you talked about collaboration. I would be lost if it wasn't for you, sir. So appreciate you big time. You've been amazing. You know, I'm so glad that we're able to connect. And 27 years, unbelievable. Hard to imagine, but it's went by like a whiff like that. So appreciate you big time. What's going on, everyone? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And listen, this is going to be an incredible show. So here's a question for you. Have you ever wondered what truly separates someone who follows the crowd from someone who rewrites the rules? You know, today we're going to talk about being an outlier. And I think to a degree, you know, me and Rob are outliers. I mean, I definitely did not follow the norm. I to a degree challenge the status quo. And, you know, I think because of my learning disability, dyslexia, being bullied, and, you know, I definitely didn't follow the path. You know, I got, as you probably know some of my story, I got out of college, couldn't get a job, even though everyone says, you know, go to school, get a good education, get a good job. And I started a company, right? I took fate in my own hands. And then, you know, as a guy who's, you know, an introvert of all things, eventually wound up becoming a black belt, and got 2 degrees and 2 different black belts, so 2 different disciplines. And then eventually, you know, then started in the marketing world, and then eventually wound up getting to speaking and being an inspirational speaker of all things, right? An introvert doing speaking. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, but it's amazing at the same time. And so, listen, we all blaze our own trail, and you know, it's just a matter of what makes sense for you. And I think following the normal path, right? I mean, I think it's, what is it? As I think they call them recessionary caterpillars, where they just go in the exact same path. And I think there's a statistic where a lot of times, you know, if you go the same path, I remember hearing a story about, you know, people just going off a cliff because they're just following the masses. So you don't want to just follow the masses. You want to do what's right by you. And listen, outliers measure their success by the depth of their impact rather than the size of their income. And, you know, listen, I think, in my opinion, if you make an impact and people are better because you're here, because that's my belief, true success is not how much money you made and how much, you know, things you have and how many cars you drive. No, it's about, to me, it's how many people are better because you're here. true impact. And I believe ultimately, if you do make impact and you are being a blessing to other people, that you're going to see the money start to come. And, I'm living proof of that. I started taking my eyes off myself, putting them on other people right in the beginning of COVID. And I've had the best 3 or 4 years of my entire life financially. And I didn't do it because of that, but it was a result of that, right? The God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, universe. There's a law of sowing and reaping. You reap what you sow. What you put out, you're going to get back. And also there's another law, which is called the law of increasing returns, right? You plant 3 or 4 seeds and you get back a lot more than those 3 little seeds you get. If you're planting corn, I call it in my book, The Secret of the Corn, you're going to get a lot back, and you get ears and ears of corn with lots of kernels. So listen, get your seatbelts on, put your helmets on, because our guest today is amazing. I mean, we've always had great guests here, but to me, we've hit the pinnacle with Scott. So if you're ready for my main man, Mr. Rob G, to introduce our guest, type in the comments. Let's go, Rob.
All right, let's go, everybody. Scott MacGregor is the publisher and editor-in-chief of Outlier magazine and the founder and CEO of both the Outlier Project and Something New, a talent strategy firm with a record 8 consecutive American Business Awards for innovation, and they get this, a 94.4% net promoter score. The average industry is 28%. He's a 4-time author of best-selling Standing O series and a Best of Staffing winner, recognized for transforming how leaders hire, develop, and retain top talent. Named one of Founder Magazine's 100 top founders to follow, Scott has contributed to Forbes, served on the Harvard Business Review Advisory Council, and is a LinkedIn Hiring Advisors member. His leadership journey began early. By 29, he was recruited as Chief Revenue Officer for a tech startup and became the youngest national account manager in the history of Fortune 500 company Pitney Bowes. A past chairman of the board for Elevate New York and member of the Walter Camp Football Foundation, Scott continues to mentor and inspire leaders worldwide. Please welcome to the show, Scott MacGregor. What's up, Scott?
That is one hell of an introduction, and it is great to be with 3 outliers. We're also 3 introverts, which is very interesting. And I love, Steve, what you were saying about impact. It's the only thing that matters.
All that matters. It's so true. And it's funny. We're 3 introverts, so let's just sit here and just look at each other, okay? Because we got nothing to say, But anyway, Scott, it's so exciting to be on here. I just want to welcome Alex Gross, who recent to the show. So appreciate you big time, Alex. All right, let's get into this, because our audience, our community has been anticipating this for a week. So to me, it's all about blazing your own trail. We spoke about it a little bit on the intro, and I know you've been an amazing trailblazer and some of the things you've done and many of the things you've done. So let's talk about it. So community, type in #trailblazer. And here's the question for you, Scott. Ready? What does it really look like to take the path less traveled when everyone else is just following the crowd?
It's tough. It's difficult for most people. I mean, I was very fortunate. I think it's just in my DNA. So I've been a contrarian my whole life. So if everybody's going left, I intuitively want to go right. I don't think that was necessarily a learned behavior, but it was certainly something that was just ingrained in me at a young age. And I think for me, I leaned into it even more when I got into business. That contrarian nature, that desire to take the road less traveled and show up differently, translated into a tremendous amount of success. So, I early on in my career, I'm like, why am I achieving things that my peers are not? And it wasn't, I wasn't smarter. I wasn't more connected. I didn't have more money. I certainly wasn't better looking. So I'm like, what is it? And it was the fact that I was unafraid to show up differently. In fact, I wanted to show up differently. And I always was willing to take the path less traveled. And, that's where the pot of gold is. And I would say not only financially, but also just, in living a very rich life.
I want to tag on that, Scott, and how you're saying, you've always been that way. I was not, I was very much a follower and very fearful. Even as a young guy in my 20s and 30s, I was very fearful of talking to people, of having the spotlight put on me. And I love business because business forces you to learn things you would never learn before. And when I went out on my own full time in 2019, I was blending in because, I don't want to make too much of a wave, right? I don't want to be that guy because I'm an introvert, right? And I'm scared. But what I realized, what you already knew, was that I learned that if I needed to, build a successful business, I needed to stand out. And I had to overcome a lot of fear to do that. But standing out, being the outlier, like you're saying, puts the spotlight on you. But that's the opportunity to be the thought leader, the premier author, whatever it is, the speaker, the go-to person in your industry, because you are the one that's kind of raising your hand saying, hey, look at me over here. Let me help you, and put the focus on them. So I appreciate you saying that. But for all our audience, if you think you're not born that way, you're not. It's okay. You can learn.
Yeah, we were talking about impact. Okay, good, Scott. Go for it.
It's all about being different. I mean, it's just water until it's liquid death. It's just coffee until it's Starbucks. It's just a bed until it's the Ritz-Carlton. You've got to show up differently. Otherwise, you're just a commodity. You're just water. You're just coffee. You're just average, and it's not a great way to live. So I think not following the thundering herd is the way to go.
So you mentioned you're a contrarian. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm just kidding. I'm being a contrarian to be the fact that you're a contrarian. Just bad joke. One of my dad's bad jokes. But anyway, I want to just welcome Tracy. She's back here. Tracy, we had the honor to be on her show this morning. She does a great job with her show, and of course the amazing Yolanda. Let's go. And then I want to honor my amazing sister, even though the last name's different. That's her married name, but Eileen, love you, appreciate you, so proud of what you're doing. And Nat, who I'm blessed, I had a opportunity to speak for his group this past week. So Nat, great to have you on the show here. But anyway, we were talking about it before about impact, right? And to me, it's all about impact, right? This is community. If you're watching this, and obviously you're hearing my voice, you are watching this. Understand? Listen, 3 shy guys. Now, if you're not a guy that's introverted or shy, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I want you to understand that you have all the capacity in the world to do something you never thought you could do. Just gotta believe. You just gotta go for it. So, and I believe that we are true impactors, and that's what I want to dig in a little bit more, because you mentioned that really resonates for you as well. And I know that's why one of the reasons why I had to have you on the show, because I know you're all about impact. So here's the question, Scott. Ready? How do you personally choose impact over income in your work life? And maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm assuming you do, but I want your take on that.
I do. It's the only thing I care about. It's what gets me jumping out of bed every morning. I understand that income is a component of impact, and you need a certain level of income to do the things that you want to do. But, I realized a long time ago that the things that are very prominent that people would, say in an introduction, at the end of the day, no one's going to give a shit about that stuff. No one is going to care that I've started a bunch of companies. I've written 4 books. No one's going to care. I publish a magazine. No one's going to care. I've won a bunch of awards. Again, they're pretty irrelevant to most people. No one cares about the house I live in or the car I drive, but the impact that I make, if there's a legacy to be had, that's going to be the legacy. So anything that I can do that has a positive impact, and certainly the community, that we built with the Outlier Project, or the platform that we have with Outlier Magazine, has allowed us to make a massive impact. And that's exciting to me, because the other stuff really doesn't matter.
It's great stuff. Hey, I got a question from Tracy, and maybe it's a contradictory question. She says this: how is an outlier different from others? So how would you respond to that? It might be a language thing, by the way.
What's that?
I said it might be a language barrier thing on her
Oh,
side.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Outliers, let's face it, most people, and I hate to say this, most people listening to this show are not outliers. Otherwise, outlier would have no context to it. An outlier is something that's different from the norm. So most people are part of the thundering herd. That's why it's called a thundering herd. It's
Yeah.
called the road less traveled because there's
Right.
not a lot of people on that road. So, outliers just show up differently. Most people are terrified to show up differently. Most people are afraid to take the road less traveled because it's lonely. What if I get hurt? All of these things that we worry about. Um, True outliers embrace those things. And that's why, they're few and far between. We created a community where we knew 10% of the people on planet Earth are going to be attracted to that community, 90% are not. And that's okay. It was built for outliers.
Sure.
Yeah, and you're speaking my language, Scott, because as a brand strategist, branding is really all about differentiation. And when people are afraid to differentiate, they run into a real big hurdle. I remember early on, when I changed my entire brand, when I realized, I was pounding social media, a lot, and I was getting no attention. And when I found my true brand and I put up what people think is the brand, right? The new logo, the visuals, all that. That's just the obvious part of the brand. I got more attention. I remember walking in a room. This is a local networking event. It's about 150 professionals from the county of all different levels. Some people, in politics and whatnot. So it's kind of a big deal luncheon. And they're all dressed in suits. And I walked in black boots, black jeans, a performance pullover, looking like I do. And I just stopped next to some guy. He looks over at me, he goes, "Boy, you really stand out in here. What do you do?" It was such a setup, but that was the moment, and that was the first moment I really learned. And I was so afraid to do that because I thought they won't take me seriously. But the fact is, I got remembered, and it set off me going all in on my brand because it did something that terrified me, but also freed me up.
Yeah,
love that. Yeah. I got to make a couple of comments here from the group here in the comments. So first of all, Ian says no one gives a crap what we did, what's did or a, wait, hold on. No one gives a crap what's did. We give a crap of what you bring. Okay, I get the gist of it. It's and that along with my dyslexia is not helping with me reading that. But to be an outlier is the antithesis of the normal way to be. Yep, absolutely. And then Tracy's contributing here. Cool answer. On the contrary, most people think that they're outliers. Inliners are really few. Kidding, but not kidding. Okay, cool stuff. Outlier, not outlet. Okay, like it. And then show up authentically, unapologetically. That is something to look.
Unapologetically is the key word there, because people
exactly.
I see people apologize all the time for their brand, like they won't go all in.
Yeah, you got to go all in. Anyway, listen, to me, it's all about how you think, right? I've learned years ago that success is really mindset. And that's not about what, specifically what it's not about talent. It's about mindset. So and you have a very specific mindset. I think we want to highlight here. You have this people over everything mindset. So what daily habits, here's the question. So community, type in hashtag mindsets. Here's the question, Scott. What daily habits help you lean into a people over everything mindset, Scott?
Yeah, you can never do it alone. Like if they say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a bunch of people. And I've known that. I've been in a leadership position since I was in my mid-20s, and by choice, because I love leading teams. And I knew that my success was tied to other people. I could have talent or whatever, but without other people, there was no way I was going to be able to reach my goals. So, I think for companies and just in general, if you don't prioritize people over everything else, you're missing the opportunity to reach your full potential, because you'll never get where you want to go ultimately without the help of other people. And so it's a mindset that I carry every single day. And so I cherish the people that I get the opportunity to work with, or the people that I get to do shows like this with, or the people in the community, that I run, or that we feature in the magazine. So I am definitely a people over everything kind of a guy.
And Ian contributes we over me all day long. Absolutely. I want to welcome to the show. We got Israel in the house. I don't mean the person Israel. We have Yuval, who's from Israel, tuning in from the amazing place in the Middle East here, Mecca for some of us, right, if you will. So, but great to have you on the show with us, Yuval. Anyway, let's keep it going, right? So, to me, being different, being an outlier takes some courage. It takes having the ability to just not care, if you will, not care. I'm not talking about not caring about people, but not caring how other people perceive you per se. So let's talk about courage. Why, Scott, and community, type in #courage. Why is courage essential for someone who wants to stand out as an outlier?
You have to have courage because you're going to be with you're not going to be with a lot of people. Most people don't want to be in those positions, so it's courageous to show up differently. It's courageous to take those road less traveled. It just is. It's inherent in being an outlier. You have to have confidence, and you have to have courage in order to live that type of a life, because you're going to be misunderstood, and you're going to be criticized, and people are not necessarily going to understand all of the decisions that you make in your life. But what's important is that you understand why you're doing the things that you're doing.
And for the audience's sake, Scott, I want to jump on that for a second. Sometimes I wish there were videos of me way back when, because I always was concerned with what other people thought about me, thought of what I was doing. I sought everybody's approval, and if I didn't get it immediately, I didn't do anything. So I didn't do anything. And so having that courage, you can learn to have courage, audience. If you're feeling like, well, I'm just not that way, because I used to say that, well, I'm just not that way. You can change, and it's not changing the person you are. It's just changing your mindset. Like Scott says, developing courage doesn't change your personality or who you are as a person. It just changes your approach to not caring what other people think about what you're doing. And to Scott's point, if you're always putting people first, you don't have to worry about what people think, right? Because you'll always be doing the right thing. So I appreciate that, Scott.
Yeah, I just want to throw a point out. So my mentor said to me years ago, because he's the one who challenged me to meet 3 strangers every day, and when I said, yeah, but what are people going to think? He said, you know what? People don't think about you at all. You know what I mean? I know you want to think that they're thinking about you, but they're not thinking about you, right? I know in your mind they are, but they're not. So I also learned, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Just do it. And I think the good and the bad about the Steve that started to grow into the Steve I am today is that I just, I didn't care, which was good and bad. I didn't care about what people thought, which can be also bad too. So I had to learn the other side of it, which is I need to care about people, but I not care about what other people thought. So I just want to throw that out. Scott, let's move on to service. So, community, type in #service, and this is going great. It's probably going to be the last question here. So take us home here, and I know one of the pillars of our show is being others focused, be looking on how, like when I finish up a call, I'm always like, what could you do to be a blessing? How can I add value for you? It's all about serving others. Because I learned, and the movie First Night, the Camelot movie with Richard Gere. I don't want to get into the character himself, but anyway, he writes, in serving each other's, we become free, and it's a great topic. So here's a question: how can focusing on serving others actually accelerate success for an outlier?
When you help other people, those are the people that are going to come to your aid when you need them. You know, and service is so important. Giving back is so important. When I started a company 11 years ago called Something New, giving back to me and being of service was probably the most important aspect of the business. But I had a big problem. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I did not want to take any outside funding because I didn't want anybody to tell me how to run the business. And so I decided to bootstrap the business. And when you decide to bootstrap a business, you're pouring all the money that you're making back into the business. And so I said, boy, how am I going to give back? I don't have this giant checking account that I can draw on because I'm making all the investments back into the business. And I realized that the assets that I had were the relationships that I had. And thank God for decades, I had built incredible relationships. So I decided to write a book called Standing O, and which was a book of gratitude for life lessons learned. And I asked Coach Dick Vermeil, who's in the Football Hall of Fame, if he would write the foreword. And he did. And I asked my buddy Tiki Barber, who played for the New York Giants, if he would write the cover quote. And then I asked friends like Jesse Itzler and Merrill Hodge and all kinds of different friends with interesting last names like Picasso and Guggenheim and et cetera, if they would write chapters of gratitude. They all said yes. And we put that in a book and gave 100% of the proceeds to charity. So, you know, being of service to other people because I have poured into other people for my whole life with no reciprocity, never asking for anything. When I said, would you write a chapter of gratitude and, you know, we're going to give 100% of the proceeds to charity, the answer was a very enthusiastic yes. So there is a boomerang effect to being of service to other people.
Absolutely. Love it. I want to welcome Sam back on the show. Actually, he likes to be called Kim. So he writes, yeah, it's been a bit lonely sometimes. You have to feel the fear and do it as others will not understand you. Yep, very, very true. So, well, this has been amazing. You know, so as we're winding down the show, Scott, I want to just ask you if there's anything, any particular any takeaways, anything you'd like to leave with our audience? I know you don't have necessarily an offer because you're not looking to pitch anything, but do you have anything you want to share? And then maybe what's the best way for our community to reach out and connect with you? For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just off the top of my head, like the takeaways are really prioritize people. It can be a very lonely world without other people around you that are there to inspire you and pick you up when needed. And the other, which is a topic for a different time, is that adversity truly is a gift. When you start to reframe adversity and you see it as a gift and you don't fall into the trap of being a victim, your entire life can change. So I guess those are just two things off the top of my head that I think about quite a bit. And if people want to get a hold of me, I look like a superstar on LinkedIn and I look like a loser on Instagram. So you certainly could find me on Instagram, but I don't look that great. LinkedIn is definitely my platform of choice. So reach out and send me a personalized message, and I'd love to connect and I love to get to know people. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
And listen, community, you want to connect with Scott, and don't pitch him, okay? Just connect with him. See how you could serve and add value. So appreciate you, Scott, big time. What an honor having you on here. Can't wait to continue this relationship, and just appreciate you in a mighty way. So we'll have
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
appreciate the opportunity.
For sure. See you soon. All right. Well, wow. Amazing. I warned you. Scott is incredible. And I'm saying warn you just to be a little silly, but amazing. And so listen, if you like that, next week, October 1st, we're into October. It's crazy. Episode 231, we're going to have on Eric Booker on You're Enough, and you are enough. And if you got a sense of what we're talking about today, it was kind of a preempt for that. So it's just amazing. And if you want to learn more about some of the up and coming episodes, go to masterconnector.show. If you're interested in being a sponsor of an episode, you can go to masterconnector.show, as well as also learn what it takes, what it requires. We don't just let anyone on. We have the best of the best, the cream of the crop. If you want to be a guest, go to the masterconnector.show and you'll actually see with that as well. But I want to close with a quick story. Blake Makowski, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, the founder of Tom's Shoes, is a true outlier who built an entire company on the path less traveled. After seeing the hardship faced by children without shoes in Argentina, he launched Tom's with a 1-for-1 model, donating a pair of shoes for every pair he sold. Choosing impact over income from the very beginning, Blake's relentless focus on people over products created a movement that inspired countless other companies to blend business with purpose, reminding us that we can make a difference by leading with heart. Folks, let's go the path of less traveled and choose to impact over income, and so that we can bless others and ultimately be that light. God bless, and see you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.